The Russia-Ukraine war continues. The eyes of the whole world are waiting for news from the ongoing war on the territory of Ukraine. However, apart from the war on the front, remarkable events are also taking place on Russian soil. Russian oligarchs reacting to Russian President Vladimir Putin are being assassinated one by one. The continuation of the war with continuous defeats after Putin's wrong moves and the sanctions imposed on Russia due to Putin's aggressive rhetoric have put businessmen in economic trouble. Putin's rhetoric on the use of chemical weapons in Ukraine had led to many sanctions being also imposed on Russia by other countries. Because of these pressures, Russian oligarchs started to react to Putin. Russian oligarchs expressed their reactions to Putin in their protests. Because if Putin continues in this way, he will drag his country towards bankruptcy. Putin continues to punish everyone who opposes him. The punishment of Russian oligarchs cost their lives. Many Russian oligarchs who reacted to Putin were assassinated. However, national lawyers have announced that they will take Putin to court for Russia's war crimes and crimes against humanity in Ukraine, including the assassination of Russian oligarchs. The war continues intensively on Ukrainian territory. After the Ukrainian army increased its intensive operations, Putin's fear came true. Putin is losing the war he planned to win in a short time with a great defeat. Putin, who realized that he could not succeed in the war, was afraid that the war would spread to Russian territory. After Putin's aggressive rhetoric, Zelensky became even more enraged and ordered a full offensive. Many Russian-occupied areas of Ukrainian territory were recaptured from the Russian troops and taken under the control of the Ukrainian army. After the clearance of the occupied territories, the Ukrainian troops continued their advance. Continuing their advance, Ukrainian soldiers entered the Kursk region of Russia. Before the soldiers advancing by land, the region was inspected with Bayraktar TB2s and air operation was organized in dangerous areas. It is not yet known how far Ukrainian troops will continue their advance in Russian territory. As the Ukrainian army entered Russian territory, a striking news came from the Russian capital, Moscow. Putin's chief advisor was found dead in his home. The constant deaths of people close to Putin have started to attract attention. It is wondered whether the reason for these deaths is that they are close to Putin or whether they are neutralized by Putin because they have Putin's secrets. Putin's chief advisor, who has been closest to Putin for years, was found dead in his home last night. This stunning news was much talked about in the Kremlin. Russian President Vladimir Putin has not yet made a statement on the subject. It is not yet known whether Putin's advisor was killed by the intelligence services of other countries or by Putin's assassination squads. However, dozens of people known to be close to Putin have lost their lives since it started. In addition, the advisor was normally seen to be with Putin all the time, but he was not with Putin in recent days. The reason for this brought the questions of whether there was an incident or a discussion between Putin and his advisor. While Russia was dealing with the news of the advisor's murder, the Ukrainian army started to put pressure on the Russian army in the Black Sea. Hot moments in the Black Sea. Ukrainian naval forces are working to change the dominance in the Black Sea. Russia suffered another big loss in the Black Sea. The Russian Navy anchored off the Black Sea, but whose attack systems were targeted against Ukrainian territory, was captured by a raid organized by Ukraine at night. The Russian Navy ship was captured by Ukrainian soldiers. Putin was outraged by this loss. The capture of the Russian Navy ship, which he had been praising for years, by Ukrainian soldiers made Russia a laughingstock. Zelensky, on the other hand, congratulated the soldiers who captured the Russian Navy ship. The Russian soldiers on board were neutralized and the ship came under Ukrainian control. The Russian flag was lowered and the Ukrainian flag was hoisted, and from now on it will fight against Russia. However, the Ukrainian army is not carrying out these operations alone. Since the beginning of the war, many of its allies have provided support to the Ukrainian army. This week, a new and major support came from NATO to Ukraine. NATO wants the war in Ukraine to end, as it has been going on for months and the winter months are approaching. The Secretary General of NATO stated that he did not want any more Ukrainian citizens to be harmed. He announced a big support package that will bring the war to an end. Within the support package, a landing will be made from NATO to Ukraine. NATO first announced that $350 million of cash support will be provided, as well as 3,500 soldiers who will be on the ground. It also reported that air defense systems and unmanned aerial vehicle support will be provided to respond to Russian airstrikes. Although the Russia-Ukraine war has been going on for months, tensions have not eased. The clashes continue to increase. However, the Ukrainian army is increasing its pressure on Russia. On February 24th, Putin, who started the invasion attempt on Ukrainian territory, planned to capture Kiev within weeks without the need for major preparation. But things did not go as he wanted, and he had to send more Russian soldiers to Ukrainian territory. He tried to cover the shortage of military personnel by promising men in prisons that their sentences would be lifted in return for a salary, and if they returned alive. He tried to close the shortage of military personnel by sending Russian prisoners to the front. He promised that these people would be paid a monthly salary of $2,500. However, many people knew that Putin would not realize this. Russian prisoners accepted this offer to get out of prison and went to the front. Many prisoners died at the front. The rest say they have not been paid their salaries by Putin for months. Reacting to this, the prisoners laid down their weapons and started protesting against Putin. In the face of both the prisoners' protests and Ukraine's intensive operations, Putin was helpless on the territory of Ukraine. Russian troops are not succeeding. Russian President Vladimir Putin, on the other hand, says that he wants to meet with the leaders of all countries and get mercenary soldiers if necessary. However, there has not yet been a country that provides military support to Putin. In addition, other country leaders are telling Putin that he must end this war. Putin is said to be very desperate in recent days, because he could not find soldiers to fight on Ukrainian soil, and withdrew military personnel. He appeared before the public and made another statement. For the first time, Putin approached the Russian people in a moderate and soft way and asked them to support both Russia and Putin. He asked the Russian youth and Russian men to support him one last time and to join the army. Putin said he urgently needed 20,000 soldiers. However, the majority of the Russian people no longer support Putin and want him to step down. That's why almost no one took up the offer to go to the front.